Welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be focusing on issues that affect workers in the public sector. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back. Following a meeting with government representatives at the office of the Secretary to the Federation of the Government of the Federation on Monday night, the Nigerian Labour Congress resolved to halt the demonstration pending further discussions.
The NLC is the largest organization in the whole of Africa, and there is no consultation of stakeholders that does not include us that will stand. It was on that premise that they now agreed to have a larger committee to look at the entire tariff structure and model and to come up with a realistic and an all-inclusive agreement.
Shortly after the announcement, the TVC News crew visited Ikeja, the initial takeoff point for the planned protest. Telecommunications subscribers shared their expectations.
I love it. I love it in the sense that when there is protest, more, let me say, it will cause more havoc than good. It will cause more problems than good.
Maybe the telecom provider, they will sit down, then know what to do about it, because the citizen is very unbearable.
It's not advisable, because if they are going to increase anything, not at this moment, that everything we are under pressure. You understand? We are facing so many things in our home, in the environment, and everywhere we move. So that's not what we are expecting from our government now. They should bring up another thing, another idea.
According to telecom operators, factors such as rising energy costs, the increasing price of network equipment, inflation and currency depreciation led to the tariff increase.
The Nigerian Labour Congress says it will embark on a nationwide strike on Tuesday to protest the 50% telecom tariff increase recently approved by the Nigerian Communications Commission. According to a communique signed by the NLC President Joe Ajero on Wednesday, the decision was taken at an emergency meeting convened by the union's National Administrative Council. The NLC said the rally will serve as a warning on the dangers of imposing such an unfair increase on a struggling population earning a minimum wage of only 70,000 naira. The union also directed its affiliates and state councils to begin full mobilization in preparation for the nationwide protest, calling on willing civil society allies to join the preparation.
If you look at the teaching profession, is a profession that the strike action is just an outcome of a very fundamental problem. So as younger kids, when we were in school, we don't even want to be like our teachers before, because we saw them as poor individuals, and a profession that even as much as it's very important to the society, they train and build the leaders for tomorrow. Nigeria as a country really has treated it very well and very professionally. So what we need to correct, that is important, the way I see it, is that from a very younger age, we need to let children understand that that's a profession that is worth going into, make the incentives right. A lot of parents use some certain professions, medical line, lawyers, engineers, as very good examples of people to aspire to be. Whatever is being done in that environment, we should start projecting it into the teaching profession, and I think that will solve some of the fundamental problem. And in the interim, all you have to do is just to go into the schools, the public schools and everything. The classrooms are heavily congested, and I also think by policy statements in some other countries is actually what we have encouraged in Nigeria, where the proliferation of private schools at secondary and primary level, you can't get it in some countries like that. The public schools are actually the ones that are better. The children that struggle are the ones that you will find in private schools. But in Nigeria, we have actually switched it the other way. So if you don't have money, the promise of a good quality education for private schools is not guaranteed. So those are the kind of issues from the government perspective that they need to really go and deal with. If you deal with all that, at the end of the day, in a couple of years, you won't have situations whereby people are threatening to go.
Are never actually respected in Nigeria. So I feel like we should do better for teachers, because what is life without teachers, yeah? To be doctors, you need teachers. To be everything, you need a teacher. So I feel like these people should be like the most valued people in the country. They should earn a lot. Their health services should be paid. Like, they should be really established and respected, but we don't do that in Nigeria. So if they do want to go on a strike, I fully support that.
Teachers, like even from our youth days or when we were young, we see that the salary package of teachers who taught us from primary to secondary school is not even as good as what you would expect. And there's always this debate about who is better, which profession is better, either medicine or being a doctor or being a teacher. And I'm not surprised at all that it has continued over the years. And the neglect of teachers is really poor. So if they are threatening to go on strike, I think it's valid, because they have a lot of concerns and they have a lot of issues raised that they want to be addressed, and they feel that going on that strike would benefit them, and at the end of the day, whatever they are driving out or calling for or clamoring for, they will eventually get it. So if it will mean going on protest, which for us as parents, we are not really always happy about it, because we know that our teachers, or our children rather, will be back at home. I can remember back in the days when teachers went on strike, because I went to a government school, even a government school in Lagos in Ekpe. There was a time we went on strike and we had to go home for a few weeks or few days. Some of us were still hanging around, hoping that it would be called off, but it was not called off. We had to go back home. So, but seeing that this thing time again is happening, reoccurring after how many years, it shows that they're not being treated well, and their condition is actually not as good as what we would expect. So if they want to go on strike and they feel that this is what will bring all their benefits and what will make their condition better, why not? It's just for the teachers, as well as they'll also miss going to classrooms. They'll definitely miss it. So it will just down to the parents as well as the children as well to just endure, so that their teachers can be better treated.
Recently, the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria issued an ultimatum as regards the poor welfare of teachers in unity schools. On the profile interview segment this week, we'll be accessing some of the reasons why the union have to take up this position, and also an update on minimum wage and how it affects Nigerian workers. Good to have you on the program.
How are you doing?
Great. Happy New Year. Quickly, we'll move straight to the point. I remember very clearly that some few days ago, the association released a press statement issuing an ultimatum to the managers of unity schools across the country. Can you tell us, why was it expedient for the association to come up with this recommendation?
Thank you, Sharon, for having me. The press release is aimed to address the Federal Ministry of Education, not the Unity School, because it's in respect of issues that are bothering around the welfare of our education officers in the 110 Unity schools across the country. And this is not the first time of submitting such a request. We've been trying to have a kind of understanding, an avenue where we'll come to round table to discuss issues affecting the education officers in the Unity School since 2023 or 2022 thereabout. But it may surprise you to see that up to now, the management of Federal Ministry of Education are not seeing it kind of expedient to attend to us, to listen to the plight of this unity school, the education officers in the unity school. And the more the delay, we have exercised a lot of patience, we have exercised a lot of understanding to the ministry from 2023 to date, with no concern shown to the plight of these workers. That is why we decided to give them this avenue by giving them this ultimatum of 21 days within which to come to round table to discuss the issue, or in order to address the issue once and for all. Otherwise, we are going to shut down all the unity schools in the country.
Okay, looking at the issues on the table, the summary of it all is about poor welfare of workers in that sector. Would you say it's typical to the unity schools alone, or are there other parastatals or division that your union is associated with that is faced with similar challenges?
Well, even if there are some sectors that are faced with similar challenges, that of the unity school is something that nobody will want such situation to continue, because it may surprise you to know that for quite a long time the unity school teachers have not been receiving their promotions as at when due. The worst of it all is what happened last year, where over 100 school teachers, school education officers in this 110 secondary schools were invited for interview, but at the end of the day, only 5 were picked. And when we tried to get the reason why such mismanagement be done, we were made to understand that the Ministry of Education has no vacancy to promote all the teachers they invited for the promotion interview exams and the rest of that. So we feel like if the ministry really have the welfare and the staff at heart, they couldn't have invited such number for an interview where they know that they don't have such vacancy to accommodate the teeming number of education officers we are inviting across the country. So, and even the promotion, we have a lot of areas of over 5 years that are still hanging with the ministry without attempting to do something about it. We have areas of salaries of staff of this almost the same 5 years. We have a lot of other entitlement of the workers, like that of the 28 days in respect of promotions and transfer, in respect of transfer and rest of them, which the ministry have done nothing about it for all these years. In fact, the worst of it is that there was a time when this allegation of unity school education officers was approved, and the arrears that's supposed to go along with it, the federal government have approved the arrears. Unfortunately, up to this time, none of the unity school teachers have assessed the money spent in respect of these areas. And even the Office of the Accountant General made a statement that they have paid the money. In fact, they were given pay slips with the amount every teacher is due for in respect of the arrears. But on going to the bank, the education officer realizes that nothing was sent to the bank. It was just a calculated attempt, to rob the unity school education officers without doing the necessary thing. It takes us a long time to prove to the Office of the Accountant General that this money were not paid to these officers, with evidence of bank statements and letters upon letters. But up to now, nothing has been done, despite the fact that the federal government has approved the money, but the ministry has not done anything about it. Even on coming on board, I wrote several letters to the Minister of Education.
We are yet to get new people into the system, and we have people that are retiring from the system. What would you have to say about the proposal by the union the age for retirement should be extended?
What I'm trying to say is that it is not in the interest of the union to forward requests for the extension of service years of workers in the country. But as a result of poor policy implementation from the government side, you recall some where we have exited the pay-as-you-go pension scheme, where one will retire and then proceed to pension bureaus to assess his retirement benefit, including gratuity and pension, monthly pension. And now we have the contributory pension, where the employer and the employee both contribute, will make contribution towards the retirement of the employee, so that at the end of the day, the problem that associated with the pay-as-you-go system, whereby you will spend years without accessing their funds at the end of the service, will come and gone. But what we are experiencing today is even worse than the pay-as-you-go system, because even those are under the pay-as-you-go system are assessing their money as at when due, unlike the contributory pension scheme policy of government. So there are some that retired for over 10 years without assessing their dying from their pension contributions. And it doesn't make sense if you have play your own part, paid your contribution as at when due, and then the employer who brought the policy failed to do the needful, and as a result of that, you spend years without having access to your money, all in the position that governments lack money to pay into the contributory pension system. But as it is now, the majority of the employees are afraid of even exiting the service, because you will not have access to salaries. The money you contributed towards your retirement, you will not have access to it, just because the government have failed to redeem their own pledges. So that is why, by mere extending the service, if the government is serious about the scheme, they will have ample time to address all challenges that are associated with contributory pension scheme, so that the workers will have ease will have access to their funds the moment they retire from the service.
As the president of the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, can you tell us what's your take on gratuity? Owing to the fact that, like you said, many people are afraid of retiring from the system or exiting the system, what's the role of what used to be statutory, which is the payment of gratuity?
Well, if you can recall, the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria took membership to educate workers in the country that by the coming on board of the new pension scheme, the law does not appreciate the gratuity. Therefore, gratuity is still the right of all workers in the service as they retire. It has not been abolished. The contributory law does not abolish payment of gratuity by both federal government and state government. So while you are contributing for the while you are contributing for the exiting of service under the contributory pension scheme, the employer and the employee are paying to cater for the pension and the lump sum you are going to assess at the end of the service. But the gratuity is payable, and most of the government agencies, they are paying the gratuity. Only the Federal Public Service that the payment stop, and we have informed the employers of labor across both the federal and the state government that payment of the gratuity has not been abolished. So the better there's resuscitated for the betterment of retired civil servants across the country, for the better of all of us.
Okay, very quickly, I would like to ask what's the update as regards the implementation of the national minimum wage, especially when it comes to the consequential adjustment that arose from the signed document by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you. On the issue of consequential adjustment, as you are aware, we are done with the meeting with the federal government, and implementation has already taken place since November last year. We are also receiving reports from across the state of the Federation where implementation is ongoing. Many of the states have engage their labor officials for negotiation as regard to the implementation. Some have done very well, some are still on the negotiation, some have submitted report which to us is not something that will make the workers to put in their best, because it's not all about implementing approving 70,000 naira for officers on grade level 1 and then without putting the consequential adjustment to justify the progression of this promotion to the last level in the public service. Some states, that is where we're having challenges. They feel that once they announce 70,000 naira to all, we have already gotten the commitment of all the state governors towards the implementation of the new national minimum wage. Majority of the state governments have constituted their committee to implement as approved by the consequential adjustment of the federal government committee. A lot of states have done that. A lot of states have implemented. A lot of states are working towards arriving at the conclusion of the negotiation between the government and the employer and the organized labor in the various states. For now, we have not received report of any states that show the kind of nonchalant attitude as regard to the implementation of the new national minimum wage. What we are just waiting is for the committees across the country to finish their negotiation and come up with the approved percentage in the implementation.
Talking about the consequential adjustment, would you say that the federal government has implemented the consequential adjustment of the new wage, and what would be your expectations going forward?
Well, the federal government has implemented the report of the consequential adjustment committee headed by the head of service of the federation, where all labor representatives are there, and that immediately after the conclusion of the assignment, the federal government started the implementation immediately. The state governments are now queuing in with their form of implementation. You know, after the federal government report is out, the state also have the right to negotiate further with their labor leaders in the state. You can see some of the states are paying above the federal government pronouncement of 70,000 naira, some are paying 85, 82, and the rest of them. So it all tally rounds the negotiation at the state level, which we are very, very optimistic to inform you that the states are doing well. Some have constituted the committee and they are working on that, and some have implemented. They have done very well. Some of the states have implemented, and some have some issues to address the consequential adjustment of their table. So for now, we are okay with the level of commitment from the state government as regard to the implementation, and that we know within this month, next month, in February, issue of implementation across the country, we're hoping is going to be over. You know, we're looking at December last year, and before the end of December, virtually all the states have constituted a committee and they're working day and night to see that the implementation come into effect.
And that's all we can